state, and people got interested. So then in 1997, we developed a school called the Maine Compost School. I was one of the original founding members, and I'm the last member of the group that founded it. Everybody else is retired. But over the last 28 years, we've graduated over 1,200 students from all around the world. They come from Russia and Australia and Tasmania and all the 50 US states as well. So it's a pretty awesome kind of program, and we hold it right in lonely Monmouth, Maine. 2004, my colleague, George McDonald, was the director of waste management at the state planning office. And he reached out to me. He was also a compost team member and said, you know, we ought to really kick this in the can and get it going. So we actually convened a symposium at Bates College that turned everything around. We had people come from all over the state, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, to talk about composting. And it started something really special. We started focusing heavy on food and getting it out of our waste stream. And probably one of the best ones that started all this was a friend and colleague, Ron Slater, who ran the Sandy River Recycling Facility. What a wonderful man he was. He passed away quite a few years back, unfortunately. But he was a pioneer, and he and I sat down at Java Joe's in Farmington, and we wrote or designed the whole facility. And then I went to my boss at the time, Paula Clark, and said, I want to do this application. She goes, well, if you write the application, you can't do the license. So she let me write it, and I had another colleague from the office write the permit, and it started a very beautiful relationship that's still working today. I mean, that facility composts all the food scraps from the college along with horse manure from the racetrack and produces a beautiful compost that we sell for $30 a cubic yard, enough money to support the program and make it sustainable. And every summer we have an intern from the college that we pay to learn about composting and waste management. And I want to shout out to Waste Management itself in Norwich Walk, because they spend 2 weeks with the intern teaching them all about waste disposal in the program. So it's been really a beneficial situation. And by the way, we have a sale October 25th. So as far as getting things rolling, 2008, grants were sent to municipalities for recycling and composting through state planning. Once again, state planning did a lot of good work. 2010 DEP, I was in the sludge and residuals unit, and I got my boss to let me work on some better rules. And we established really super friendly rules for composting. So people started doing it more, which was a really cool thing. Mostly still seafood, because there was a huge demand to deal with seafood. Then in 2011, we actually did a study with George Kreiner and Travis Blackmer from the University of Maine, and identified that 28% of our waste stream was food. And that was a really huge awakening moment. 2013, I created the Organics Management Guide, which has been really helpful. We've distributed it all over the state and country. We also held some food scrap collection workshops, the first set in 2014. We did it in 2016, we did it in 2022, and we're going to do it again in 2026, and maybe the end of this year as well. But these food scraps were held at regional places across the state to teach people how to better deal with food loss and how to fix it. Then 2016, we did the 10 Steps Guide for School Composting. Both guides are totally free. If you want a copy, just shoot me an email and I'll give it to you. But the 10 Steps Guide was an easy way for schools to get into composting, and we still support them by going to each individual school and helping them in any part of their program. These are the two guides that I developed back in the day, and they both still are fairly relevant. Nothing has really aged them out. Composting has been around for thousands of years, so you really can't make it outmoded. But those are available for free. All you have to do is ask. I think they're also on our website, so you can help yourself. 2017, we actually the legislature sort of told us they wanted us to do some pilot projects. One of those pilot projects was the town of Skowhegan, which we're going to show you in a second. And then I also, in 2018, established the Island Initiative where I traveled along the coast of Maine to all the islands trying to promote composting. Right now, I'm having a huge success in southern Maine. Great Diamond Island and Peaks Island are jumping on board. The next will be Chebeague. Buston's Island is kind of a unique community off of Freeport, but I'm going to try to get every island community to compost on their own soil and take those nutrients and put them back in. Because the most important thing out of all this journey has been keep your nutrients you generate in the same zip code because you want to use those nutrients locally because why import nutrients when you have nutrients you can recycle, which is a good thing. So we have this program. Once state planning was disassembled by a governor that came in, we took over the program. We didn't have as much money as they did. They were given per round 450,000, but we've been pretty good to stay around 250,000. But the idea is that we are looking for proposals from municipal regional organizations. Private enterprises also are definitely there, but the highest priority goes to municipal or regional associations. And it's to increase the removal and recycling of organic materials from municipal waste streams. Some of the key places that we target are underserved areas. We want to do waste prevention, so food donation, gleaning, reuse, repair, lending, anything that keeps stuff still in circulation. And these grants, unless they're a special bonus organic round, are for everything, any recycling aspect whatsoever. But we want education outreach. I love students doing education, so we allow them to be paid. We will not pay a salary of someone who already works there, but you may donate their salary as in kind towards the match, which is really important. If the project addresses a statewide need, that's always popular. With climate change coming, we definitely are looking at things that affect climate. So greenhouse gas emissions are another important piece. And then the idea of just expanding the type of materials recovered. I know, for example, we've had a lot of different groups target glass. Glass is very hard to recycle, but when ground down, it can be used as a fill, it can be used for road base. So there's lots of uses. So we've had a lot of requests for grinding devices. So moving forward, 2020 and beyond, we had the pilot projects initiated. A consolidated collection program was launched. I'll talk about more of that in a minute. 2022 was the 25th year of the Maine Compost School. In 2023, the Maine legislature considered its first ban. The ban actually got passed last year, last legislative session, but it will not take place until 2030 because we needed staff and the current staff that are working on PFAS will be freed up at that time and then we can do that plan. So some of the success stories. Farmington Cooperative, Town of Skowhegan, Waterville, Winslow have done some great projects. The Waterville, Winslow ones actually collect food and it goes to AgriCycle in Exeter to be digested, which is another viable option for sure. Lincoln County has been doing a little bit here and there. They're kind of an older group and their situation is they want to do it slowly and carefully because they've got a pretty small site, so they're doing a decent job. Reedfield, Wayne, and Fayette, we actually gave a grant to. They have a situation that's kind of cool because they serve 3 communities. They have composting at the transfer station, but they also distributed 100 lobster trap wire bins. I'll show that in a second. And they have citizens that compost at home, citizens that come to the transfer station, and citizens that do at home in the spring and summer, but in the winter it's too much trouble, so they bring their food to the transfer station, so that's sort of a hybrid. So that's been kind of cool too. So what makes it work? Well, Vermont has had a huge successful program, but they've had a couple of things in their back pocket we don't have. Number one, they have a statewide pay-as-you-throw. The minute that you have to buy garbage bags in order to throw them away, and you're paying a fee for those bags, it really puts in your mindset what not to put in it so you don't waste those bags. So that's a huge deal. In the towns and cities that have pay-as-you-throw, food collection is really kind of second nature, and it does really well. Pilot programs statewide. I'd love to do a pay-as-you-throw in communities like maybe KV Cog could have a community that might want to try it, and we could look at that. Grants definitely help, but what I find when we use grants to start a program is that you still have to go back. You can't just start it and walk away. You got to keep going back and reinforcing education. Otherwise, it kind of goes to heck. And then technical assistance between DEP. I also have a great partner at the George Mitchell Center. Suzanne Lee has been a strong partner for a very long time. We have a similar mindset on how we want things to go. And she's doing a good job with schools and she's from Southern Maine area, so she's kind of working heavy on Southern Maine. But they definitely want to help promote that food recovery so it doesn't end up in landfill. So she's been a very strong partner. The solid waste grant program, this last round, we had kind of a stumble because our budget kind of took a nosedive. So we only gave or are giving $90,000, which is not as much as when we were given 250 because the top end was $50,000. This time the top end is 15, so not as awesome. But this project right here, Reed Field, Wayne and Fayette, they're doing a great job. They compost year round, which is really awesome. They produce a really nice compost. And basically, the setup is really simple. The citizens know not to bring garbage, just to bring their food scraps. And for the most part, I've been pretty happy with what they received there. So that was a good one. And then Skowhegan kind of did their own pilot program, and they kind of took it to the nth degree. They had buckets that had cool labels on them. And do you guys still use these same labels? Yep, cool, cool. And you can see what they were receiving is really clean stuff. Citizens bring it to the facility. They have a 2-yard metal tipper. They've changed that to, okay, so because that thing was too big or, okay. So, so what happened was that this tipper, we actually put a aerator in the bottom, and it was like composting material as it was building up. But evidently it started to rust, and then somebody stole the blower, which happens. So they're using 96-gallon toters, which are heavy in and of themselves. So it takes probably a couple to dump it into the skid steer bucket of the front loader. But what they did, here's a nice shot of the original players. And well, Al's missing, but everybody else is there. And there's Randy. He was the reason why a lot of this happened. Randy was a godsend to this community, and he and I saw eye to eye from day one, and it was a great relationship. So, but this is basically how they originally started. Now they use the 96-gallon toters. It goes into horse manure that they get from the fairgrounds. And so they produce a compost that's good for the masses. And then what I call a gourmet compost, but I could never get Randy to put a dollar on it. But are you able to get some money now for it or? Good, good. Because I mean, the key thing is that you can be as gratuitous as you want. You can give and give and give, but in order for some of these programs to work, they've got to sustain themselves financially. And my thought was that the leaf and yard, sometimes has rocks and stumps in it. That can go to anybody, but the really good material ought to be sold for a premium. And when I say a premium, if you sold it for $10, that's still something. At Farmington, we sell ours for $30 a yard. So this is,
Do you see that being tested someday for PFAS, or we don't talk about that?
no, I do, I see down the road, but right now, biosolids and septic are the two that are occupying all the time. Other states are looking at those materials, but really honestly, you got to pick which thing you're looking at. So, but this is kind of the setup. So these are the leaf and yard piles over there, and they're turned with that nice loader. And every so often they get a screener in, and the screener makes an even better compost product. It's pretty high quality. And this was a lot of fun for me. Was this the first one or?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was good time. And we had the Casella came, their vendor that does things, and it was just a fun day. We had games for the kids, and it was well attended. And on the bottom right-hand side, you see me in a yellow vest, and the guy with the hat on is Ron Slater. So a really great man. Fortunately, he passed. So how do we divert food scraps from disposal? The first thing is we encourage gleaning and share tables in schools. That way stuff doesn't end up in the trash. If the kid doesn't want his apple, he puts it on the table, and at the end of the day, someone will take it. Cornville, they have a share refrigerator. So cold drinks can be kept cold, and anytime during the day, a kid can grab a drink if they want one. Those are things that we need to support more of. And I've said it numerous times on the Waste Diversion Grant Program. I'd love to buy refrigerators and freezers for different entities. That way, and especially like food pantries, because it keeps stuff more, less perishable and more valuable. So that is definitely eligible for waste diversion grant funding. Promote backyard composting. We're going to be doing a program with MRA where we're going to do leaf and yard composting classes, but also include backyard as part of that, and hopefully train people to kind of do those classes. And there you go. You can, and leaf composting programs can be expanded to accept food scraps, and that's a nice way. You take up to 5 yards a month, and you don't need to change your permit. And then, of course, if you need any help or assistance, I'm always available. You can call me. You look up Maine composting, and I pop up. So definitely willing to help. And with that, I'll take any questions before we move on to the next one.
I had one earlier, but I wait.
All right?
The waste study. Are
Yes.
we still finding that it's about 28%?
Yeah, well,
Waste, or has it
28 to
changed much?
28 to 40 is the guess now.
So overall, we haven't done any better over the years. So,
No. The thing that's worse is that because of packaging, there's a huge amount more that's not accessible to the average composter because that packaging is really tough to deal with. So, and it just doesn't compost. Even the compostable packaging doesn't compost unless you have this ginormous pile that gets hot for like 6 weeks.
In Portland area, they get $35 minus 40 yard for the basic stuff.
Yes, that's very true, Lynn. And the thing about it is that as you get further away from the population centers, people are a little bit tighter with their wallets. They squeeze their nickels till Jefferson squeaks. So what we try to do is we try to get them to pay anything because if you don't put any skin in the game, it doesn't have any value to you. And so if you pay for it, you're not going to waste it. And that's really the key for me. I tried really hard with Randy, but he's like, my taxpayers, they give me everything I need. I'm not going to cheat them. So, and he's a good man. I respect that wholly. So, but he just wouldn't do it. Yes.
Composting food scraps in the state today.
So it was in the food loss and waste generation study, Kate, but the number fluctuates. And I would say right now, doing solely food scraps, it's less than 6 or 7. If you want to count Exeter, maybe it's less than 10, that's for sure. There's a lot of ones that do seafood that will take food scraps occasionally, but those dedicated to food collection, you've got Scrap Dogs, they have a site now. Garbage to Garden, they have a site now. MB Bark, which is also We Compost It, they've got a site now. Uh, your partner, One Earth, they've got a partner with you, but they're collecting in that area. And that it kind of trickles off after that, but there are a few more starting. Peaks Compost is starting in Winterport. So I'd have to actually sit down at my computer and take a look more carefully, but it's going to be less than 10. So. Other questions? All right, sweet. Yes.
I know when I talk. And they say they're still regulated by the state, that they can't package up the leftovers at the end of the day and send them home with kids.
Yeah.
Does the state look into changing those regulations to help feed these kids that don't have anything at home?
Well, I want to tell you, there were two champions at NRCM. The first champion who was rabid about it, his name was Ryan Parker. He was awesome. He would not, if you told him something like that, he would ferret down and find out that the only reason it's there is because someone doesn't want to give you an answer. Yes, they're afraid that it might affect their job. So the answer is that food can be donated. It's just that we need to, and the donation laws are really good. There's no culpability if you donate food. But what we need to do is I need to go to like a school workshop and do a presentation on that. So, yeah, because food donation laws have changed a lot and right, especially if it's going to like composting. If it's going to feed other people, they're a lot more strict. But if it's going to composting and even feeding animals, it's not that bad. Yeah, we've lost. That's right. Yes, the backpacks. Yeah, no, it's education. And the problem is that, Sarah Nichols, or she's moved on. Ryan's doing cool stuff, another part of the state. I can't remember, well, Vanessa Berry, she's someone to reach out to because she's young and she's excited about stuff. So I would reach her first and have her kind of dig into it because she's real good. Yep, awesome. Vic, do you have a question?
Yeah, well, a comment. I know the cook at Carmel, because she goes camping with us. and
Yep.
If they had extra food, pizza and stuff, she said, I just wrap it up and I'll put it on the table for the kids. So I don't know if they have any official rules, but he said, I'm always leaving food out on this little chair table.
Yeah, share tables are really popular across the country and it's getting better. The problem that happens is that whenever you promote something too much, people think it needs to be regulated. The same with like, we were promoting compost tea for the longest time. Now people are just doing it, but the FDA and the EPA said, oh, wait a minute, that's leachate. So they tried to say you have to sterilize it. Well, the benefit of compost tea is the living organisms within it. They do a lot of like pathogen kill and things like that. So there was a huge push and then they kind of backed off. So that's what needs to happen is that when a rule comes in that seems to be ridiculous, you need to question it. And that's the best way to go.
And then they requested that you repeat questions.
Totally cool.
Yeah.
So Cindy's question was about share tables and donated food. She's heard mixed reviews. Some people say you can't do it. And so the answer is really you got to question why and then, educate them.
And then you have Lynn. How can I get some info to all the attendees about May Hunger Dialogue on October 17th? It's a conference of college students, faculty, and local professionals to address hunger. We also give mini grants. Perhaps we can leverage some Mark's grants to create some programs on Maine's.
Okay, so Lynn just asked, how can she get information from a lot of the programs that she does through the University of Maine to all of the members? And the answer is the invitation you received from Ash, the intern, MRA intern, please send it to her and she'll distribute it to everyone.
She also said she can talk about Maine network for this.
All right, cool, cool. Well, when I get done with this one, maybe we can let her share. Would that go to everybody or no? That can't happen? So Lynn, okay. So this is the first time they've Zoomed, Lynn, but could you put together yeah, if you want to call, we can put you on speakerphone too.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay, cool. So what we'll do is, when I'm done with this presentation, we'll put it up there and then you can do a dissertation. Sound good? All
I'll
right,
do an
let's get through
elevator
this.
speech. I'll keep it short.
Okay. So now that we've taken the history and we've moved fast forward, this group was started as part of a grant. So Victor Horton from MRRA reached out to the Waste Diversion Grant Program, made a proposal, and specifically was looking to create this hub and spoke design so that MRA, which has an incredible amount of longevity, would be the information receiver and then distributor all over the network. So our goal with this first meeting was to get people aware of who we are, but also to get people interested in talking to others and trying to create a web of participants similarly to some of these other listservs, but make it more of an interactive one. And the net result would be that we would continue to grow and form a web of contacts. And without using a pun, grow it organically, naturally, instead of trying to force it. So here's where we're at. We talked about kind of the history. Now let's talk about what we can do. So this is actually the study that was done in 2011. And as you can see, organics were 43%, but that's all organics, including leaf and yard debris as well. If you tease it down, 28% of it was actually food scraps. So what do we do to get started? Well, today's meeting is getting started, and that's kind of the goal. So the first thing you can do is perform a food scrap study where you assess all the food handling areas of a business or a school or even your home. You look at the prep area where you're doing the clean stuff. We call that pre-consumer. That's where you cut off the bad ends of the lettuce and all the different vegetables, and that goes into a container. That's pre-consumer. Midstream is actually where it's being cooked, and sometimes that gets wasted. And then the service itself, where you hand it out there and people eat it. And then finally, what ends up downstream, we call it dumpster diving, but it's basically stuff that gets pushed into the trash. We determine what the recoverable volume would be, select the containers that could store and receive it. So the container selection is kind of an important piece. Then what are the storage limitations? A lot of schools can't store the containers inside near the kitchen. They have to be stored outside. Well, if you take a container full of food in August and put it out in the sun, it can be a problem. So that material has to be picked up and moved off to a better use sooner than other times. Determine the collection hauling scenario. Are you going to haul it yourself, or do you want someone like Scrap Dogs, Garbage to Garden, Chickadee Compost, or One Earth come and grab your materials? And then find partners, because you need a partner. If you're going to collect the food, it needs to go somewhere. So for example, I was talking to Cindy at Skowhegan that they could be the receiver of food scraps, and we could find a young enterprise. Well, I say young, I don't mean anybody who's enterprising in Skowhegan that would love to collect food, and they could have a subscription fee similar to what these guys do, and then she could get a tipping fee to receive it. So it becomes kind of a great idea. So that's how you kind of get it started. This is Maine's food recovery hierarchy. We wanted to have our own because EPA put digestion above composting. We felt that that wasn't fair, that really composting and digestion are on the same level. But basically the way it works is you start out with not making waste to begin with. So you only cook what you need. You don't do that extra 20% in case there's some people that show up. And then when you have any waste, you feed people first. And if you can't feed people, then you try to feed animals. I'll give you an example of feeding animals. We have microbrews popping up like mushrooms on a log. They produce a grain residue that is an awesome feed for animals. And so that is a natural, that should not be composted. It should be going to feeding animals. But if it can't go to animals, then composting is a logical place for it. So then when you can't feed animals, then you do the compost it or convert it into fuel. And once again, the idea is keeping our nutrients local. And that's a good idea. And then disposal, we include incineration, waste to energy as well. Even though it's one rung above disposal because it produces energy, we still don't want to see it end up down there. So the food scrap study, as I said, it starts in the kitchen. This is actually the scrum line. There would be a step before that where you actually are in the kitchen where they're preparing things. Then it goes out to the service area and then it comes into the scrum line. So what's needed? You need infrastructure. You need to have collection devices and you need to be able to rely upon those being hauled away at reasonable times so it doesn't attract animals or cause odor problems. You need really predictable, cost-effective transportation. These programs don't stop in winter. They happen year-round, so you need somebody that's going to come in the winter as well. Airtight, watertight containers to help prevent odors, keep out animals. And then long-term options. It's very hard in the waste industry to get somebody to sign a contract. Extremely hard because there's always a cheaper option right around the corner. So you do the best you can. And then say what you mean what you say, do what you're supposed to do, be predictable, be professional. And then whenever you can, if you get complaints, deal with them politely and carefully because the public's perception becomes your reality and they can shut you down faster than anything else. This is what Sandy River Recycling in Farmington, when they started the very first operation, they were collecting food this way because the ladies in the cafeteria were all elderly, sort of retirees doing a second job, and they couldn't move those big toters. So what we did is we used 5-gallon pails, but they still couldn't lift them because they're about 27 pounds. So to satisfy that, we got stainless steel stools with wheels. And they would put the 5-gallon pail on the wheel, on the stool, and then push it along out to the dumper. They could flip it into the dumpster. So that worked out really good. But this became a problem for Ron because he was the one emptying all these and he cleaned them. Although he did say that he put his Sirius radio on bluegrass and that and sit there and jam out while he was washing buckets. But anyways, he preferred the toters. And that's what a toter is. This is a size I prefer, it's 34 gallons, about plumb full, 212 pounds, half full, which is what Farmington does, about 100 and whatever 212 is, divided by two. And it can be handled by students so they don't get hurt. The other key thing about a food scrap program is that everybody can pull the chain on the bus and say, stop. It's not like the military where, the general says this and it goes on down. It's up-down communication, which is really important because everybody needs to feel valued or they're not going to want to do it. It's got to be good for everybody, as I said. Key players are supportive, training, education. Anything in the waste handling business is all about education, re-education, fortification. It's really super important. Good feedback, positive feedback. Negative feedback can be done in a positive way. You can say, hey, well, I see what you're doing there. I think that next time this would be more efficient. That doesn't mean you're dumb or a screw up. It just means that we could do something different. And then partnership within and without is super critical. So having good partners. So this is a program that I started quite a few years ago because I felt that people wanted to get food scraps out of their community, but not everybody wanted to compost. And I understand that because there's a lot of responsibility. So that's sort of what helped Exeter and some of these other companies get a good foothold. A consolidated collection center is where you put a couple of containers, you put a kiosk around them with lots of education. Education is super important. Garbage to Garden has one of the best kiosks I've ever seen. Then basically they fill the containers and then they're picked up either by a composter or by AgriCycle who has the digester. The idea is that they only sit there for a period of time, short period of time, and then they're gone. In the summertime, it's even shorter because of potential for odors. But what I found is that when I promoted this, I didn't really look at our rules and regulations very well because I wasn't a solid waste guy. I was a sludge guy. And these are individual transfer stations. But the problem was that the department did not have a way to permit a small little thing like this without charging a full transfer station fee. So much to their chagrin, they decided to create a registration process with no fee. So now, when you put these containers out, you just do the registration form, online, send it in, and you're now a dot on a map. The only reason we do that is because if there's an odor complaint or a litter complaint, we just want to know, number one, is it an illegal one or a legal one? And then we want to go and help out. So it's kind of a great setup. So it worked out, but I probably should have asked first, but that's not my style. So the benefits of consolidated collection allows accumulation of volumes of organics because trucking companies won't come for a waste basket full, but they will for two toters full. And so we need to get the economy of scale set up. Allows residents to source, separate, and collect food from home and bring it to one central area. You saw in the first slide Vic had, the lady dumping in, that was at the library in Winslow, and it's a perfect spot for it. It helps to fulfill the demand for organics input at larger facilities, and you can enhance, or enhanced organics collection is good for the state's recycling rate. If we're ever going to get 50%, this is the way to do it. So things that can be collected, anything that was once alive, of course, but we want mostly meats and fruits, pasta, bread, coffee grounds. We don't want liquid materials, dairy or fire-related grease. We don't want pet waste because of potential for parasites. So basically just the things that you wouldn't want in your compost. Speaking of that, Vic, had a talk with Olivia and Catherine the other day. You know those earth machines that I told you I hate, like there's no tomorrow? We're gonna rebrand them, put a sticker on it for dog and cat poop composting, and those would work perfect for that.
Yeah.
So I think that's gonna be a really good thing. Yeah,
Right.
see, funny how these ideas pop up. All right, so what do we want? This is type 1B. The state of Maine looks at, if you get a permit from the department, they look at these different products by type. Type 1A would be leaf and yard, vegetative material, and some animal manures that are bedded. Type 1B are food scraps, and that's mostly produce and citrus and things like that. Type 1C is the really putrescible, gooey stuff that stinks and breaks down very quickly. So we're talking about shrimp, lobster, and seafood. So if you get a 1C permit, you're allowed to have up to 750 cubic yards before your whole site has to be paved because of the propensity for those nutrients to get into groundwater and be a real problem.
Go back one.
Yep, go back one. Yep.
I was always told that you can't put oranges, lemons, that kind of stuff, so I always throw them away. But
So,
is that-
so we tell people that compost at home that they can't put a whole bunch of stuff in their compost pile. The reason why is because the volume is so small
Mhm.
that all these things interfere with the actual operation. Citrus is very acidic, so it can actually kill the activity. If your pile has a big enough mass, it can handle all this stuff. So it's all about volume. The bigger the volume, the bigger the mass, the more microbes are working, the less these kind of things come into play. Meats and bones, all those kind of things.
Like
Scout Eagle could take a couple cases of oranges, no problem.
They could.
But I put maybe one orange.
Yeah, if you're lucky. All right, so this is the other thing. I've spent a lot of time training staff, and I will tell you that it is a total exercise in patience because a lot of them don't want to be trained, so they come in with that big chip on their shoulder. So the way that you do it is you say, look, I'm not here to teach you. I'm here to help your team get set up and ready to go. And I kind of let them be the lead on things. And then I give them information and let them assimilate it and say it back to me how they're going to do it, how they want to do it. Sometimes my way, they can find a way they can do it better and easier. And that's totally fine as long as we get it done. So I try to be very careful. I don't say you must. I say, this would be really cool if you would do, but what do you think? And I always give them time to say, this is going to be a pain in the butt. I don't want to do it. And then we kind of work out details. But this is what I was talking about at the very beginning. This pre-consumer is all the clean stuff. The problem with the upper left is that those are Brussels sprouts. If they come in, I don't know why, but each individual one has to have a sticker on it. And those darn stickers can be a real pain. Same with broccoli. Broccoli has the rubber bands. So it's just, you got to be careful and you tell them why that doesn't benefit their compost and they'll pick them off because you know what? They start doing it and they're like, pick, and they have a little, like a 1 gallon little plastic thing. They drop them in and at the end of the day, they say, look what I saved. So it's kind of cool. And then this is the plate scrapings that comes right after people get done eating, what doesn't get in the trash can. More and more this happens with good education right at the trash can. Tell them what they can throw away and what they can't. You'll see more of this in the kitchen, which is a good thing. So separation, it's not that difficult. It's just really messy. So the less you have to do, the better off you are. So, but you got to be consistent. And the only way to get long-term consistency is education, education, education. And this feedback loop, as I said, is really important. Negative feedback can be delivered in a positive way. I've learned that over time because I can be a little blunt. Well, I'm much better now. But when I first started, I could be very blunt. And I learned that blunt doesn't get the job done. So, and then the way you institutionalize organics recycling is you give yearly kind of 1 day a year where you celebrate what they've done and maybe give them some free stuff, but that doesn't really break the bank, but it makes them feel appreciated for doing the right thing. So this is just an example of how Garbage to Garden started. It was I think it's Saul Fetter and Tyler Frank started it. It's now a huge enterprise, but basically that's the container they use. And really quite simply, they put a container on your curbside. You fill it up with food scraps. If you put any garbage in there by accident, you get a little sticky note on top of the lid that says, next time you can do just a little better. But that subscription fee then goes to the company, and the company services, oh God, I want to say they're probably up to 10,000 residents by now. So they're doing quite well. They might even be higher. It might be 17,000, but because they do a whole lot of Southern Maine. But it's just a really cool operation. It's a really smart operation. Scrap Dogs does a great job. Kate does a great job. Matt at One Earth does a great job. And it's just, you got to love what you do in order to make it work. But you got to do enough of it in order to make a living. So sometimes you don't love it as much because you're not making a living as much as you want to. So it's a vicious circle sometimes. The large scale, I'm cheating here. These are actually in Bangor, but you get the idea. You put your containers outside, they could buy it, pick them up with a tipper and good to go. This is what I love about Garbage to Gardens kiosks. That was in South Portland, I think at the Walmart. You see the big cement bunkers around it. You could hit that with a snowplow and not move it. The lids do not lock. I always asked them about that. I said, well, they've never had somebody drop a diaper in there. If you look at the way that setup is, how nice it is, you would be a real schmuck if if you threw a diaper into that container. So they've really been pretty well, and they don't get vandalized either. I think it's partly because people feel like this is a cool thing and they want to do the right thing.
A couple things said earlier, Juliana said EPA provides the ranking in 2023, composting and aiding are equal now.
That is true, Julian. I was just talking about 2016 when we adopted. At that time, it was not adjusted. And actually, let me give a shout out to EPA. EPA actually has the wasted food scale, which is even better because it looks at things upstream as well. Like if you have an incinerator, which is a garbage disposal, that's frowned upon because all you're doing is you're taking your organic from the landfill and sticking it in the treatment plant and making them have trouble. So, yep.
It says, I think talking about who you were just talking about with that garbage.
Yep.
She says they service the Boston area and have over 30,000 stops. And are you saying these need to be registered as transfer stations?
No, there's a registration form for food recovery kiosks. So they're actually registered as a dot. The idea is that in Southern Maine, if there's a complaint about a food collection area, the first thing that the department staff would do is go to our website and look at the map where everything's distributed. And they would say, okay, so this is a kiosk. And they would probably call Garbage to Garden and say, there's a complaint at your site, to allow them to fix it. And then if they don't get a response, then they would go out themselves and deal with it. So this is a way for us to just know where they are, not to regulate them. Is that everything? Perfect. Okay, cool. Good questions. But yes, I love this kiosk. So like I said, you got to be a total loser to put a diaper in there. So here's the cool thing. If you want to do these in your community, they can be done anywhere in the community where there's public traffic. We want to make sure people know they're there. So sometimes you put them in a newsletter, you put it on the TV, you do whatever it takes to get attention. But here's what they need. A 96-gallon cart, if you have just one, it needs about 4 square feet of space. So you're not talking about much at all. And if you decide you want to do it, say you have a really huge populous area, you could, 200 square feet, you could do a 20 cubic yard roll off. So you scale it up depending upon how much demand you have. It's really simple, but put it there, people will use it, but it's got to go somewhere. And it's got to be picked up on a regular basis, and it can't be a nuisance. So what about the public? When you say I want to compost, this is the public thinks about the upper left. Oh God, there's going to be rats, and they're going to come and kill my dog, and they're going to eat my cat. And over there on the right-hand side is Lincoln County Recycling. It is the nicest municipal site that I've been to in a long time, because basically they use a little tiny tractor that could mow the lawn, but it has a PTO. And the turner they use is called an earth saver. And it actually, that PTO drives a hydraulic pump that makes that thing grind right through compost and produce these beautiful windrows. They're only 3 feet tall, so a heavy rain, they can sometimes get inundated, but it's a really great operation. This is just another setup. See, this guy right here is getting ready to pick up all these containers to bring out. And over on the right-hand side, believe it or not, that's in Canada. And that is an artistic, but more importantly, bear-proof food storage area, because they have a lot of bears and they have a lot of problems with bears. So pretty cool setup. So here's the options that I have that I've identified it and try to help out. The first is you compost on site. Easiest, right? Skowhegan, they collect food scraps, they compost on site. Compost off-site means you got to transport it. When you add trucking and transport, it adds significant money. It adds delays. It adds all kinds of things that you can't really control because equipment breaks down, all that other stuff. But if you have a community-based operation and you're trucking to yourself, that's cool. So therefore, Skowhegan could pop up containers. I mean, I see another waste diversion grant in the future where you could put a bunch of kiosks around town and collect those, provided that you have someone willing. You have a lift gate now on the truck. Yeah, an enclosed trailer. So you could basically, you're perfect. So, and then the other one is I'm a huge fan with partnering with farms. There's a bunch of farms that in their heyday were big composter or a big dairy farms and things like that. We have one right here in town that for a while composted biosolids, and now he could compost food in that building. He really could, and that'd be a really cool thing. So farmers can take up to 60 cubic yards a month of this material, provided they have a compost management plan. The plans are free, and they're written by the Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry, and I co-author them through a partnership. The person that does it, his name is Mark Hedrick, Hedrich. His phone number is 287-7608. And we love doing these plans because it gets farmers a little more income and it gets less food in the landfill. So it works really good. Or they can go to digester. Right now, the only operational digester in Maine that's taking food is located in Exeter, Maine. It's AgriCycle. We have one trying to restart in Brunswick. Not really sure what's happening. We have one that's going to be starting up in Bedford at the University of New England. They got a waste diversion grant for a small digester to handle their food scraps. So, but the only one that grabs it pretty much anywhere in Maine is AgriCycle. So this just shows you kind of the two options. On the left is Rainbow Valley Farm. They tried doing food scraps, but the material that came was really contaminated. So, and they're an organic dairy and an organic composter, so they said no. And the other side is anaerobic digestion in Exeter. Their claim to fame is they have a depackaging unit, so they can take all manners of food and run it through their process.
Do you think
I hope so, but they're trying to get around things. So I'm not 100%, but I hope so. So just really quickly, what is composting? It's a biological process that transforms raw organic material into a nutrient added but beneficial soil amendment, not a fertilizer. Very important. Carbon, we look at any feedstock that's high in carbon is going to be dry and it's going to be absorbent and it provides the food for the compost microbes. Nitrogen is anything that's going to be full of nitrogen but easily breaks down. A lot of available nutrients, plant nutrients, whereas the carbon source is not really high in plant nutrients, but it breaks down quickly and it can be very smelly. It is what the microbes use to make more microbes. Oxygen, every pile needs 5%. We need 5% as part of our daily processes. When we actually do CPR on someone, the reason why we don't kill them is because we breathe in 21, but exhale 16. So we still give them enough to live. Temperature. Temperature tells us how the pile's doing. The hotter the temperature, the more microbial activity, the happier the pile is. So the one tool that you need is a thermometer. This is a typical profile. It starts out very low phase. Very quickly, it comes up to what we call the thermophilic phase. 2 to 6 weeks is our active compost time. Then it comes down, and that's what we call the curing period to allow it to turn into good material. Moisture, they want 55%. You grab a handful of compost and squeeze it. Water comes out your knuckles, it's too wet. If you open your hand and it crumbles on the ground, it's too dry. If you open your hand and it forms a ball and it's kind of spongy, perfect. That's 55%. This just shows you where the microbes work. You see the particle, the free airspace, and the little black stuff, that's water. Where the air and the particle surface and the water meet is where the microbes work. They live in a film of water. And then particle size, the upper left-hand side is really, really fine material. It is going to absorb water like crazy, but air can't penetrate. The stuff on the upper right is coarse. It's going to hold pile structure, but air is going to blow through it and dry stuff out. What you want is the bottom, which is a combination of both coarse and fines, and it's really good for what you need to do. This is a cool shot. This is a pile of biosolids compost back when we did some research with it. And that is a pile of chickens that have been there for 4 weeks. All that's left is beaks and toe tips. But air flows through that pile very vigorously to the center and then out through the top. We call it the chimney. The two sides, the really light area, the air went through so rapidly that it dried it right out. So those are the channels. All right, so how do you start a program? Got the guides again. Pick a suitable site away from people. You want it to be somewhat dry, shaded to partly shady. It needs to be a flat area, but it cannot have an upslope going down to it because water will wash right through the piles and actually kill the activity. Then you're either going to do a bin or a pile, and then you're going to start composting. So this is the lobster trap bin, the famous bin that I've promoted all over the state. It's a section of lobster trap wire that's 4 feet wide by 12 feet long. You roll it into a cylinder, and that is the best compost unit that I've ever found in the whole state, the whole country, actually. Works super great. And that's being used in Freiburg at a school, just to show you in action. The cover on top is to keep turkeys out because they want to jump right inside. The other cool thing is that these kids were in a behavioral program, and this gave them an opportunity to get rid of some excess energy, which is a really cool thing. This is when you talk to a hospital staff about lobster trap bins and they're like, no, that's gross. We want something better. So they spent an extra $150 to build this thing, which is 3 1 cubic yard bins. And the idea is you fill the first, then move it to the second, fill the first again, then move the second to the third, first to the second. By the time you're done, it's had 3 flips and it's well mixed. So works fine, but a lot of money. Or you can build a pile. This is actually, I kind of cheated here. This is in Africa, but this just shows they do what they can to make Mother Nature work. And that's the farm site that I've done a lot of research at, Rainbow Valley Farm, and he's just mixing a pile with the tractor.
Monmouth.
Sydney.
Okay.
Yep. This is Massabesic Middle School. They're on a hiatus. They've been doing it for a very long time, but they use a pile of horse manure and they scoop in it with that little tractor, dump the food scraps, and they go around the whole pile till they get back to that first spot, and then they turn it with the tractor. And that compost goes from the left, which is light horse manure, to the right bottom, which is really good compost. And if you think about it, if you have a school program, you can sell a cubic foot bag of that compost for $5. There's 27 cubic feet in a yard. So you can make $135 per yard for your compost just by partnering with a school and giving them the money. So the value of composting, it builds up organic matter. It improves the soil's tilth and drainage ability. It helps hold moisture in the soil for drought times like this year. It enhances root and plant growth, and it can suppress plant diseases because of the microbial activity that's existing. And then this is my favorite thing. Will Brinton produced this, and I don't know why he never put it on a t-shirt. This is looking at 3-dimensional value of compost. On the side, on the left, it's stability, low to high. So if it's really stable, it's going to be good stuff. And then phytotoxicity on the bottom, low to high. And then salts, high to low. So if you look, for example, at the back top corner that says potting mix, if you see that, it's very stable, it's high stability, it's low phytotoxicity and low in salts. So that is the best use of compost. Now, if you want to look at one that's a problem, go to the lower left corner. It says immature, probably okay for some. It is low stability and low phytotoxicity, but high in salts. So that's going to be good for like corn and grass. But if you go to the right corner that says caution, don't use, that's low stability, high phytotoxicity, and high salts. That's going to be basically an herbicide. So I really love this picture, and I'm glad that I was able to salvage it because he produced that thing a long time ago. And so in closing, the best way to deal with this is to not produce it in the first place. Follow the hierarchy, identify obstacles, and younger man, I busted through them. Now I find a way to go over them. Okay, and it's easy to do. Create a program that benefits many, and then if it's not fun, why you do it, right? I mean, that's why I'm still doing this. And that's it. Any questions?
Actually, kiosks earlier, Juliana said that most kiosks have a trash can nearby, so folks have another option for their trash too.
I don't know if Garbage Garden does that, Juliana. They didn't when they took the picture, but maybe they do now. So I can't really tell you.
It's a great, fantastic presentation, Mark.
Thanks.
So much useful content.
All right, great.
Speaking of presentations, it was really hard for them to see. Can you email both of those?
Yeah, I will. Yep, I'll send them to the same thing.
That group.
Yep. I'll send them to Ash. Do we want to take a break or?
We could take a break and does the other lady want to try to do her little talk?
Oh, yeah, Lynn, do you want to try to do your thing? We'll put you up on the screen.
Maybe we could take 5 while we're getting it up.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break and we'll get Lynn up on the screen.
Okay.
What I'm gonna do is try.
Right on. How do I shut off this mic?
Who's gonna do this, Juliana?
What's that?
Is Juliana gonna do
No,
this?
Lynn.
Lynn. Okay, there's Lynn. All right, I see her. Hi, Lynn. I wonder if,
Hi there. Is this Ash that I'm talking to?
okay. All right.
I'm gonna mute my
Hey,
microphone.
Lynn, say a
for
few
minute.
words.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
Can you hold
Please.
on 1 second? I gotta tell somebody not to walk into the office. Hold on.
So now we eat and break.
yeah, and then how are we going to? All right. So Jessica, you're going to head over there in a little bit.
Did I find your car?
You put it in your pocket,
I
I
did
thought.
put it in my pocket. It is no longer there.
That's bad.
It is bad. I mean, we could put a hold on it so no one can use it, but. I don't know if I do days, like I haven't gone anywhere else. Be here.
You went to the bathroom.
I did not go to the bathroom. I went out to take a call.
Oh.
Well, yes, I checked this one when I checked it.
Hey, there we go.
All right.
We do not,
Give me a second, Lynn. We're getting logistics here.
I don't think we'll need his laptop.
What do you do with the,
Okay.
Zoom? Next.
Okay.
Well, I think that there, I thought this. Like I didn't go anywhere.
We have a missing credit card. We have a missing credit card. I'll give you that, brother.
All right.
That worked good. I like it. This worked perfect.
Time's gonna be what it is. Probably could have had you share your presentation.
Oh, well, like you said, this was the dry run. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for putting it all together. All right, good.
They must have. So it probably fell out of my pocket when I went out there. Oh.
Ash, are you still there?
I said, anybody find a credit card? Yeah, I forgot to bring it in here. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, you have left the meeting. All right. All right.
I'll go grab the food, I guess. You gonna go grab food? Yeah. Give us just a minute, Clark. I was there early. And I was.
Oops.
He told me to go around 10.
5 more minutes.
You know. It's true. Consolidated collection, something we talked about. I said, I'm on this. To have to register as a space there, questions are over, there's no backyard compost on first.
No, so this really is not over necessarily consolidated collections, but analysis. So you want to set up like a container in town that is. Registration is. Yeah. I can probably
It's
look at
72 liters.
Basically what?
Just get 20 ounces.
Yeah,
20 ounces.
Yeah, if you wanna just, I say diet something.
Diet.
Right.
For here. Okay.
I'll have, diet, yeah.
Diet.
Yeah.
2 diets and a review. You
Well,
know.
that's right, that's right, let's keep it.
Yeah.
I think if you, that tingly stuff that's like no flavor.
No, I'll do that, that's all right.
Water, juice, soda.
It's nice or salons, total, someone would probably grab that, and go to the soup.
Yeah. So
Oh,
Vic,
sorry.
Vic, she's waiting,
She's ready to go, Vic.
she's ready to go.
Oh,
Wait,
okay.
Brian will be right back.
okay.
Cause he lives in.
Oh, cool.
Fort
I
Worth,
think I
and
can-
ideas.
I think I make.
I shut you off, because you said there was an echo.
Oh, okay. All right, so. It's probably my speaker.
Alright, so should we tell her she can go?
Can we hear her?
Is she screen share? Or is she screen sharing on yours?
Did we hear her? Well, she's screen check, well, or she probably.
Lynn, can you try a sound check?
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
She is
Yeah.
speaking and we.
Could you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if she was on your computer.
I think that's why Vic put his computer on, is so that she could speak through his speaker.
Alright, why don't you sign back on?
Okay, try that.
Just
I think I can mute me and not mute her. Tell her we'll be right there.
I guess the people on Zoom could hear me.
This is the first time the system's been used.
So we can't hear that, is that the issue?
Yeah.
He's thinking that we could hear her through this, so maybe she was.
Should hear through a TV, so.
Recording in progress.
Oh, are we recording that?
I did record it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I got Lynn.
That was a little bit starting to- I got most of.
You might have to change your sound settings.
Do you want me to
Yes.
test a screen share?
Sure. He's trying to work on your sound.
Can you see that?
Yeah, we can read that.
Oh, good. Okay.
Sound turned up.
Try speaking, so.
Okay. Just want to use it for my sound.
Well, let's have her speak. What?
Hey, Lynn, speak, please.
Sure. My name is Lynn Holland.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's gonna give a lot of feedback if that on top scale.
All right, I've got her turned right off here, but I don't think we can hear her if she's off here.
Are you muted, Vic?
Yep. Oh. Maybe that's the problem. Let's see.
Go to your mic on the bottom.
Yeah, I did. That's worse.
That's like this.
Okay, now I'm muted.
Okay, you are now.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Lynn.
Do you want me to try that again?
No.
Okay, all my sound's off, so that should work.
Alright, just can you share a finger?
Try sharing again, Lynn.
Sure.
It actually kill that side box there.
Can you see that now?
Yes.
I don't think they can get rid of that box. I think it's gotta be gotten rid of over there.
Well, no, that side box that says MRA recovery.
Yeah, that doesn't show up on my screen.
Okay. Oh, good, she's, okay, let her just do it. Alright, go ahead, Lynn.
So they're on that.
Oh, no, it unshared again.
Do you want me to try that again? That share?
Yeah.
One more time.
And we won't touch anything. Perfect.
Okay.
Alex.
Now we're talking. Oh, it just kicked it out again.
All right. Can you see me now?
We see you, but we can't see your screen.
That's fine. I just wanted to introduce myself before I shared the screen.
Okay,
And you guys can all hear me?
yes, very well. Perfect.
All right, I won't take too much of your time. I really thank you for this opportunity. My name is Lynn Holland. I'm with the University of Maine Cooperative Extension. I coordinate Master Gardener volunteers, and I also work with our Harvest for Hunger program. So that's where we do a lot of gleaning and also food recovery, mostly directly from the farms. So we're kind of at that very beginning of the process. But I also coordinate the Maine Gleaning Network. So I'm kind of working with not necessarily just Master Gardener volunteers, but also some of those organizations that are gleaning that don't necessarily have Master Gardener volunteers. So I'm kind of like gleaner without borders, let's put it that way. But what I wanted to talk to you today about is the Maine Hunger Dialogue. Since 2014, the Cooperative Extension and the Campus Compact have done a Maine Hunger Dialogue, which is where we bring together college students, faculty, staff, and professionals to address hunger, and specifically hunger on Maine campuses. It's sort of one of those hidden problems. And hunger on campus is probably twice what it is in the general public, especially amongst non-traditional students. That is, people who maybe are working and going to school, or maybe those students who are already parents, or maybe they're commuter students. In what we do is we have a conference, and this year it will be at Southern Maine Community College. And we'll bring together and we will have them participate in some breakout sessions. We'll have them do some hands-on activities. We have a facilitator who will take them through that. And our goal is to have them sort of address what's going on in light of some of the changes in the food security world due to the changes in the availability of food resources, whether it's through, the changes in SNAP Ed or the changes in some of the programs where food was being bought from farmers that's not being bought anymore. So what we're doing now is we're starting our registration process. It is free to all the students to attend, and our goal is to have 2/3 to 3/4 students, and then 1/3 or 1/4 professionals, faculty, or staff. And if you can afford it, we ask you to do a little donation, because with that donation, we can then provide transportation and overnight accommodations to those students that might be coming from faraway places like, say, Presque Isle or somewhere down east, something like that. If they have to travel more than 2.5 hours, we put them up for the night. It's an all-day process. We start at 8:30 a.m. with a keynote speaker, and then we go till 5:30 p.m. where we feed them pizza and have sort of a storytelling, and then we get them back out on the road. And then afterwards, they can apply for a mini grant. And what Mark was talking about with some of the grants that he has available, I could just see some of those students being able to leverage that mini grant to apply for some of Mark's grants. And one of the things we're wanting them to know is what resources are out there and available to them. And we're talking about tools for their toolbox, because the theme of our hunger dialogue is 2030 is closer than you think. Many of you may be aware of the Ending Hunger by 2030 initiative. In fact, Craig is going to be our speaker, our keynote speaker, to start us off. But there is also Ending Food Waste, or Cutting Food Waste in Half by 2030 initiative from the federal government. So 2030 is a big target date for a lot of things. And those students that we're going to be inviting, 2030 is probably a year after they graduate. They're going to be coming out into this process, and 2030 is going to be what they're going to be working with. Sodexo is a huge supporter. They actually are supporting these mini grants. And many of you are very aware of Sodexo's commitment to buying locally and also to cutting food waste. We're also working with Hannaford Brothers. They are also very committed to local buying and also local cutting of food waste. So this is my invitation to you. If you have somebody that you can send to this hunger dialogue, they're more than welcome. I would see them as a resource for some of these college students. These college students don't know what's out there. They don't know about cleaning. They don't know about composting. They don't know what a tipping fee is. So you bring real world experience and resources, and that will help them with their brainstorming and also with them to be able to create these mini grant proposals. And partnerships and collaborations is what they're going to need to be able to do systems change to make 2030 possible. And if anybody has any questions at all, I'll put my email in the chat. You're more than welcome to email me. And as part of Harvest for Hunger, I heard somebody needed to know about sharing tables. I know a little bit about them, been doing them for about 9 years now. So I know about sharing tables and put and takes or whatever you want to call them. And Harvest for Hunger actually did our 4 millionth pound of food last year. So we're going at it steady. So again, I'll put my email in the chat. Feel free to shoot me an email, and I'm glad to talk to anybody. And again, thank you for this opportunity.
All right. Awesome. Vic, can you talk to them? See if Lynn can hear you.
Hi, anyone hear me?
Lynn, can you hear Vic?
Hey, Lynn?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
so let's ask the online group, what do they hope to get out of this organization?
Yeah, that's my next steps paper.
Good, good. We might as well take advantage of that time here.
Right. We want to hear from the group what you think the organization should do and encompass. I'll just run through this real quick. Listserv or website to post food items that are in danger of being lost or spoiled. These are just some ideas I had. Donation opportunities for group needing food. Close by and economically viable solutions for local food waste needs. Where and when should the next meeting be held? Who else can we invite in a list that may be interested? Is this group best served by in-person or Zoom meetings?
Okay, so now.
Get all that?
Let's ask.
Okay. Do we want to hear from them or have them type at the chat? How do we want to get
I'd
words?
like to-
Who wants to talk first?
Open them up. I'd like to hear. Just let them all speak. So start out with the first question.
Okay, so where do you think we should do and encompass? You know, how big should this organization be? Who wants to tackle that one?
Open to anybody.
You just turn on your mic, I believe, or I don't think I have to turn it on. Or I don't have the capability to turn it on.
No.
No.
Catherine, why don't you see if you could try?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so Catherine Oak from the Androscoggin Valley Council of Governments. And how big do we want this to be? So I think I almost say no boundaries at first. And then create them as you go. Because this is new, so you probably want I'm thinking, you know, what you want as much coming in as possible, and then you can kind of tease out what isn't really working and create those boundaries. I don't know if that made sense, but it made sense in my mind.
Does to me. So invite as many as possible, possibly later on, maybe certain subgroups would be better served by meeting separately or off. Is that what you're thinking, Catherine?
Yes, exactly, Vic.
Okay, like maybe the gleaners don't really care as much about the composting as long as someone that does the composting is there to give them any guidance they need, I guess.
Or maybe the gleaners do care, because when they, maybe they need that next outlet.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wasn't trying to pick on the gleaners, so 1,000 apologies, Lynn. Okay.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
And no answer is wrong, by the way. So,
Hi, this is Kate Tompkins from Chickadee Compost.
hey, Kate.
I just wanted to add, it would be great to get those big food companies in the state further involved, the Hannaford, the Sodexo, the Shaws. You know, and I think, you know, they bring a lot of resources as well, that could help. I mean, just seeing the sort of the sponsorship list from Lynn's presentation just now, I was like, oh, wow, like I try to talk to Sodexo and I don't get anywhere, but that's so awesome. So, you know, just I think bringing those bigger companies in too as well, in addition to the composters and the gleaners. And I think, you know, sort of academic resources, Mitchell Center, anyone else in Southern Maine, academic resources would be great. And just making sure there are municipal voices as well. I found that for me, in trying to grow a composting business in Hancock County, a lot of times the obstacles are the municipal staff. So getting those voices involved as well at sort of all levels would be great.
Awesome.
Good.
I think Juliana has a thought.
Yeah, just to address those bigger companies, I think the reality is the bigger the company, the less often you better meet. Because getting them once or twice a year is amazing. Once a year is probably about the best you can hope. And it better be a very worthwhile experience for them. They better be getting something out of it. Just to be realistic, Sodexo has been a super supporter of ours, but they're getting out of it because they're saving money, you know, by cutting their waste. So it's truly you got to show return on their involvement.
Juliana.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. So I was thinking back to Mark's presentation and just the importance of that state planning office early on in helping to organize at the state level and really be a major resource provider and information provider for anyone who is trying to recycle organics at that time. And so I love the idea that this group could be a collection of, you know, experts in different areas involved in food recovery and composting, and that it could really be a resource for anyone who, you know, whether it's a municipality or an organization, a school, it can really be a resource for folks to call on for the right kinds of information, for tips on how to get started, just a place where, you know, someone could go to learn about their different options and sort of choose from those different options what would work best for their community or business or organization. So I love the idea of expanding the group as much as needed, especially at the beginning. I echo what Catherine was saying about that. I think it's great to get more voices in the room and then to sort of hone in on the size of the group that really allows us to be the most effective body, and that we have a nice a group that would have a nice balance of, again, that different kinds of expertise and connections to, yeah, municipal voices and schools and, you know, anyone who's really looking for resources.
Okay, cool. Tessa, you have anything to add?
No, I'm really excited to see this group come together and see people show up. I do think it would be great to get Suzanne Lee looped in. I'm sure she is already. She's on top of everything, but she's doing a lot of work with her students in terms of kind of mapping some food recovery organizations, composters, and I think she has a great network. And I think being able to tap into existing networks is really important. It's, you know, we don't want to be doing redundant work. That said, the more the merrier. And I think, you know, making sure we're all on the same page is a really great opportunity. I'm glad to see this happen. So thanks,
Awesome.
everybody.
What's the next question there?
The listserv or website question, that could probably go along with the donation opportunities. Is that something you folks think people would use? It would have to be monitored fairly regularly and stuff taken down that was too late and that kind of thing, but what does the group think?
Website is a little bit more high maintenance. A listserv is basically us talking to each other, and there's not that much maintenance involved once you get it set up. It's basically the setting up that's a little bit more involved up front. And you kind of, you look at it, and if you want to get involved, you reply. If you don't, you just press delete. So, you know, if you want to talk to each other, then the listserv is the way to go. If you want to talk to the public, then the website would be the way to go. You got to figure out who you want your audience to be.
If I can pipe in again, if it's okay, I just wanted to share quickly about this project that I've been working on called the Local Food Switchboard, and it's being spearheaded by the Maine Food Convergence Project. But the goal is to create an online tool that it'll be a database, and it will have some sort of listserv or message board. And the database itself will highlight local Maine products. And the goal is really to connect food producers in Maine to potential buyers, especially focusing on institutional buyers at first. But one of the ideas that has come up through the last 6 months of research with different interest holders all over the state is that it would be great to have a place where folks could post surplus product, byproducts maybe from food manufacturing that are all available, that could be, sold for the producers to recoup some value from those products, whether surplus or byproducts, and then could provide an opportunity for anyone who wanted to start a new food business or help get surplus into their local communities in some way. And so I just want to flag that this is we're in the process of building this database, but that it will be a tool that will be available hopefully in the next year, and that it could certainly be a tool that could host some of the information that we might be talking about within this group, in terms of actual products that are available, again, surplus, byproducts, any of that. So just putting it out there that if we end up going in that direction, there could be sort of a system in place already that we could build upon or tap into or collaborate with, in order to not have to, put additional resources into building the same kind of database or, information, however the information would be housed. So just putting it out there. I'll drop a link to the project in the
I have
chat.
a question for you, Juliana. How
Yeah.
about, let's talk money for a minute.
Yeah.
How's that gonna get paid for? Will people like us pay a fee to join? Because I wanted to
Great.
kind of go into money a little bit. How are we gonna get people to, because we gotta keep this sustainable and we can't all
Totally.
work for free. So what do
Oh.
you think? What's gonna happen with yours?
Yeah, totally. Great question. So the project right now has 4 years of funding that's USDA money, that came through Full Plates, Full Potential. And so it has funding through June of 2028. And then beyond that, we are already working on a sustainability plan that hopefully will involve some sort of backbone organizations, maybe some relationships with state agencies who have, a vested interest in, again, some of the data that's being collected there and in getting more local food into Maine schools. We're exploring options at this point. The idea of a membership fee has been floated, but we feel really strongly that it shouldn't block anyone from being able to access the platform. So there will be some level of information available, to the public for free, no matter what. But maybe if there's like a larger food business who is like heavily using the platform, then they would be asked to pay a monthly fee. Or if, a researcher wanted like access to more detailed data, then they would be asked to pay a fee. So we're exploring options is the short answer. But we definitely have funding through June of 2028 and are open to ideas also. But really, we're trying to set this up to not be reliant on grants, and to really set it up for long-term sustainability.
You got a request to send info on that switchboard.
I
What about this group? What do you folks think about how are we gonna pay for this group after a while? Any looking down the road? A small fee for a workshop? What do you think people are gonna be able to do? Anybody can answer, even Mark or Olivia. Do you think people want this for free? This little group that we got going.
I think that it starts up. The idea is that you want people to understand it and find it valuable. Then once they find it valuable, then you can discuss kind of money to help support it. But if people don't even understand it, and when you ask them for money, they're gonna shut the door.
So we'll show value first. Obviously, we have some grant money and
Yeah.
get people interested, then ask them to turn out their pockets.
Absolutely. Juliana, the reason why MRA is one of the ones that reached out for this is that they've just got the longevity. They've got the connection with every municipality in the state of Maine. So they aren't really necessarily relying upon any one specific thing. So it's kind of like, in order for it to have longevity, it has to have a state feature. And so that's kind of why we put this together. I thought MRA was the best candidate to house it. So, and I mean, Dick's been there for a long time, and he really knows the industry very well. So that's kind of where we're going with it. But there's already a listserv with his membership towns already. So that listserv becomes a listserv for this group as well. And what we're trying to do right now is branch out to as many groups as possible to basically be an information clearinghouse right now. And so I was going to use my contacts.
I did hear you, Mark. Where's that?
But I was
Someone said
going
they
to
couldn't
use
hear
my
you.
contacts to get in touch with cleaners and others, because I've had quite a bit of a connection over the years with a lot of people. But I think collaboration with what you guys are doing makes perfect sense. And collaboration is always good anyways, because the thing that we wanted to do was, as I said, grow this organically, but having many minds thinking about the same question is always super valuable. So, but what we were hoping today is to find out what directions we should go with this. And that's kind of really the big question. I mean, we've got, even though the audience is small today, we've got a huge diversity amongst us. And I think that's really exciting because we've got people that are actually doing the work, people that are doing the high level thinking about the work, and people that are connecting others to the work. So I think we've got a really good stable group already, but I'd love to just see how we can grow this and interface with every possible group to benefit them. So that's what I'm looking at. Want to say anything?
understand all that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So. I think if everyone could reach out to their economic and community development departments in every one of their communities. And try to work with them to find a way to make this an economic and community development initiative. Or tool to bring in investments in their communities or create those small businesses. Your reach is gonna be much further, I think. If you know, there's definitely a public benefit. I just think it could be expanded more.
Okay, I had a request to state the mission again. Thanks, you found it. So the mission, they tried to keep it simple. The mission of the Food Recovery Council is to prevent food loss and waste in a way that supports Maine's food recovery hierarchy. And I think Mark showed us that earlier. And just a couple of the subpoints were prevention and recovery, build the network, and community engagement and education. And like Mark said, we have that listserv already. I could talk to Jessica and figure out if there's a way to make a separate page for this kind of a group. And anybody could access that. We just have to have a little bit of moderation to make sure someone's not, like throwing out some crazy political ideas or some other thing that we don't do. And once the people get kind of approved after making a couple posts, we kind of let them go and, do their stuff.
This kind of a big focus when you do your next conference too. I mean, this will be kind of like a different avenue than what you guys usually go in a lot down there at the recycling conference. And especially where there's a lot of different towns that attend. So maybe making this a big focus at the next conference or something like that. At the annual meeting. And then I'm sure we can, have some of these folks come and talk about what they're doing in their areas, stuff like that as your speakers too, might be a good idea. Yeah.
So there's a lot of chatter in the back about making this group known at the next annual meeting, which is coming up in October. Well, actually, it's the winter workshop, right, is what it's called, or fall workshop. Yeah, I know. Yes, so they have some significant events that occur. There's the annual event, it's either at the Samoset, at Point Lookout annually, and then there's one coming up in October that will be an opportunity for us to talk about the FRC a little bit more. And so I think the focus of that is just trying to get the information out and get, as Ash put, like-minded people together to help solve significant problems. And food loss, wasted food is a huge problem that we can definitely, the more heads thinking about it, the better.
I think it would make sense for you guys to reach out to the Maine Food Convergence as well.
Maine Food Convergence, okay. I have a question for Mark too. So someone asked, Tessa, are there comparable organizations elsewhere in the country whose work or model we could take a page out of? I can answer a little bit. I searched high and low for other groups that were starting. There are a few that are starting like at the same place we are. A lot of groups seem to follow the US Compost Council, and I don't really know if that's the direction we would want to go. But there aren't a lot of groups out there that you could say, hey, what's your food recovery council doing? It's still in its infancy, I think. But anything to add, Mark?
No, you hit the nail on the head.
So that was the Maine Food Convergence. I don't know if they're listed or not, but we'll check it out.
There is a group called Refed, which you can mention.
Refed?
Yeah, Refed is got a fairly close. They're national though.
Yeah. Ash may have reached out to the Maine Food Convergence, but I can check with her.
I'm actually, so the local food switchboard, the project that I mentioned is actually a project of the Maine Food Convergence project. So I am, for now, at least associated with the Maine Food Convergence project, but would, could also bring in others from that organization if it would be useful at any time.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I had was, who else should be in this group? Are any pantries recognized here? Or I know we've invited a few. Is there like a pantry group that would be reachable?
Well, Dixie Shaw is the Catholic Charities.
Okay, she's probably pretty high up in there.
Well, she's everything in the county.
And that adds the next question is, where would the next meeting be? Should we move it around so people, I hate to think someone from Berwick's gonna drive all the way, and then from someone from up north, there are a couple people way up north that wanted to come, but I don't know if they can get in the car and commit 7 hours for a couple hour meeting to see my beautiful face. So do we need to move it around a little, folks? What are you thinking?
I think wherever we go, we definitely always should have a Zoom link, because some people are very comfortable not having to travel, and they think better if they're not stressed about traveling.
Mhm.
But I think that, going to Bangor would be a really good location. I think maybe something down around Portland would be a good location.
How far up north do you think would people want to go to?
Why, I go to the county. but it's a long walk.
Well, I do too.
Probably not farther than Bangor.
Some people think Bangor's Canada line, but. Okay. So at least Portland, Bangor, possibly Augusta.
As you say, Crown and Maine, right?
Browning, so.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, do we need to have a meeting soon, or do we need to do some more work to try to get some more people interested? Did you folks find that what we said today off the wall, or like, yeah, that's what I was thinking?
I think really going and then we can always, once you send that out, we can always send it out to other people.
Grab your microphone, I hear you.
So Cynthia thought the listserv was a great idea, and
They can hear you.
we could make a way for people to be inviting their friends to join it, right?
Yeah, because everybody has different groups that they're affiliated with. I mean, we have a food pantry here and, somebody might have a contact at like Good Shepherd Food Bank, which is a major one. So getting the listserv really going and then allowing people to send that out, say, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, this is a great group, something you're interested in, and then they could also join the listserv as well. To really start hitting every corner of the state, basically.
I mean, I'd like to reach out to students too, from all the major universities. I think that's super important as well.
So the main veg and berry listserv might be a good example to take a look at. I don't know how you get onto that, but Juliana might know. And Tessa asked, does anyone have a connection with the Food Recovery Council? I think that's us, right? Looks like UNE has an active chapter, so that's interesting.
Yeah. That's a Alethea Committee.
You know about it then?
She's the sustainability coordinator for UNE.
Did we steal their name? Is that the problem?
Is it, Tessa, are you talking about the Food Recovery Network?
Oops, yep. Here we go. I'm getting my wires crossed. Sorry. Food
The
Recovery
network,
Network.
okay.
Yeah, they're a national organization that
Yeah.
works specifically on college and university campuses to rescue food. And yeah, I think that UNE is the only chapter in the state. I think Colby used to have one.
Alethea is really an excellent sustainability person. She's the one that's putting that digester down, the jet digester, for all their food scraps because they lost their hog farmer.
Say that name again.
Alethea Trinity.
Forget it.
No, you just look up Alethea UNE and she'll pop up. She's really good.
So does anybody have, Mark had mentioned, like, I got too many beans or I have too much corn. Do these folks trade now, like
They do.
pantries, or is
Yeah,
there any?
They do in the counties. There's like, the coconut telegraph, so to speak. But
Gotcha.
what would be good is to be able to, like, the stuff in the county would benefit people in Portland. So getting it there is the next step.
Okay, so I think I probably should try to make sense of these notes, send it out to everybody, and see what happens next.
What about, any other questions on your list?
That's about it. I could jumped around, but
Amber should be in on this.
Yes.
Because if there are.
the close by economically viable solutions, that kind of goes along with
Puffed.
the donation opportunity.
You know, just cereals and snacks.
Do we miss any just on the chat?
You didn't necessarily ask any questions, but a lot of suggestions on maybe places that you could hold meetings, or maybe like members of this group could maybe hold meetings like locally,
Okay.
or at their cogs, or other things like that. And then there's a bunch of lists of people that they think should be involved.
I think we've
So-
invited some, but we've recorded this, so this chat will be saved, so Ash can take some of these and reach out to folks, or
Is this still being recorded?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought we shut them out. Good. So, I have a question for everyone. I'm gonna start, doing the food workshops again. The workshops are basically, they run from the morning till noon. We've been very fortunate that we pick places that are very generous hosts, and they provide snacks and all that. But the afternoon, we opt to go to a field trip, either at a compost facility, or, for example, we did a tour of Exeter. At the digester. So I would be very interested in knowing of places that you might suggest where we could hold these workshops. I traditionally try to do them at key points in the state, like I've done Bangor, Portland. I did one in Kennebunk. I did one in Farmington. Did one over in the Bar Harbor area. But if you have some ideas of places where that would go, please email me. My email address is mark.a.king@maine.gov. I hope to start these in late October, and I'll try to hold at least one a month. And this is just to get people ready for the upcoming things that we need to do to fulfill the legislative mandate of 2030. And these will involve, Suzanne Lee is going to be one of the speakers, as well as others that handle regulations and things like that. So any thoughts you have, please reach out to me. And by the way, thank you all for attending. This is very valuable, and I hope this continues to grow and becomes something that we can be proud of. And the more collaborations that we have, I think the more valuable it'll be. So thank you all.
All right, and I put Mark's email in the chat, so if you want to take a look at that quick before you go.
I have a request for Mark. Mark, would you be able to send like a description of what those workshops look like what you go over? Because that might help us think about
Sure.
who would benefit. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll do something when I get home.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course.
You can post it on the listserv.
Yep.
We had it going yet, but. Any other thoughts from anybody before we leave for lunch, and you can watch us eat or go?
Oh my God, is it 11:11? That's my favorite number.
11.
How about that? What a way to end on a perfect note.
What's our next step, though?
I don't think we figured it out.
Well, the next step is we're going to send you the notes from today's meeting. We're going to ask for extra thoughts, and then we are going to organize the next presentation and probably get the listserv up and running. Yep, send it out to everybody, and we'll encourage you when you receive the listserv to send it out to anybody you want to send it to as well. And then that way we can keep building on that, or you can send us names that you want to add to the listserv. That might be even better. That way we let it grow. For example, I started out with, on the waste diversion grant program, I started out with 60 people. Now my listserv for that, whenever we have one, I send out to almost 180. So that way they get advance notice that the waste diversion grant has been released, the RFP. So I think these things grow, and they grow naturally, and I think that's the way it should happen, not forced.
So just one more time, I'm gonna be working on getting the notes to the group. Get the listserv going, and I'm gonna stick Ash on the chat to make sure that we've covered everybody's question and invited the folks that they think we should.
Yeah,
And then Mark's gonna work on getting that compost thing, so we can publicize that and see how that's gonna. Is that all hands-on, or is it in a classroom, or?
no, it's all classroom pretty much. So this is basically, Juliana, I can just tell you quickly, it's a history of the program. It talks about consolidated collection. Then Suzanne talks about the triple bottom line in her presentation. Then we have DEP folks talk about the regulatory piece. And then at the end, Mark Hedrick from agriculture talks about the on-farm compost management plan. So it's an idea to say, we want to move food away from the landfill. These are the ways to get it done. So, but I'll get something a little more formal, and I am gonna revamp some of that stuff a little bit too, before we release it. Cool. All right, anything else, Dick, or you want to get the final?
No, I just want to thank everybody for attending, and hopefully we'll be talking to you soon. You may now go to your families.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thanks so much. Take care.